Hello everybody and welcome back to Sandy Bay. So as we discussed in the Easter special, which hopefully most of you enjoyed, we were doing the silage harvest, and I was sort of wondering whether or not we should do the rest of the harvest, in the single player series. And I've come to the conclusion that we really should do, because if we were to do it in the multiplayer series, when we come to sell that silage, we're not actually going to be able to put it into the save game, the single player save game, which means we'll really lose out in the next map, whenever that may be. So I have decided to go ahead with it in this single player save game. The only issue is, because our field was pretty massive and our trailer was pretty small, well, it's still huge, but yeah, you get the idea, it wasn't really enough as I was doing it on my own with the worker. So I have decided to go with this beast. It isn't really designed for a map like this in the UK, but I think if any map in the UK can support it, it's Sandy Bay. Because Sandy Bay has obviously got some fairly wide roads, it's got some really narrow roads as well, but the main roads are fairly wide, and also the fields, especially field 20, are huge. So I think we can get away with it just about, although this is obviously an absolutely huge trailer. It can hold 70,000 litres of silage, or of anything for that matter. But it is really helping. Now, although it can hold so much, I've only actually harvested about a tenth of a field. That's all. So, yeah, it is helping, but not massively. Anyway, let's head back down to the field. We're going to get it finished off today. In fact, it shouldn't take that long, because we've already spent about an hour on it. Well, I have, at least, in real time. I've been doing quite a bit off screen, and we did some in the multiplayer. Oh no, not a multiplayer, in the Easter special. Yeah, I've got multiplayer stuck in my head because I know so many people want me to do multiplayer Sandy Bay, and it is going to happen, as I keep saying, so don't worry about it. It's coming very soon. Once we're finished with Thornton Farm, it'll be transferred to Sandy Bay. That will be, I'm guessing, in about, how long would it be? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I would say it would be about mid-May, maybe a bit earlier, when we transfer it. Obviously I want to do a fair amount of episodes on Thornton Farm, as it's a good map for multiplayer. It's just, whenever we get to the stage of doing 30 episodes on here on single player, it is time for them to transfer. I suppose we could always come back to Thornton Farm. We don't have to be confined to moving on to another map again after Sandy Bay. Let me know. I'd love to know your opinion. But without a doubt, Thornton Farm and Sandy Bay are both very good maps. So the field is just down here on the left hand side. We are using a worker. I'm actually carting continually. The worker is driving the harvester. It's pretty tight turning. It's one beast of a trailer. So that's the progress, and we have so far got about, I would say about 180,000 litres of silage out of there, which is insane. It's like unheard of. I've never produced so much silage from, or so much chaff from such a small area. It's a huge field, but we haven't even harvested half of it yet. It's just, well, the word to go with it really is ludicrous, but it's fantastic. Okay, so the pipe is actually adjusted to be in the right place. Let's get back into the harvester, back into the lorry. The worker should be able to do this. Come on, worker. Oh, it's the engine. The engine has turned itself off. So I've actually got it set up to 6 miles per hour cruise control. It does make it easier. The issue is as well, turning this thing around at the bottom. It's a pretty long trailer, as you've probably noticed by now. I have mentioned it quite a few times. So what I tend to do is go right over here, or left, I should probably say, it's going to cause confusion, and then I go right over here. Interestingly, the wheels keep coming off the ground on the trailer. Okay, so really the only thing we can do is do a time lapse, because if I just do everything in real time, it'll make for a very long video, but it would make for also a very slow video, if you get what I mean. So what I'll do is I'll keep time-lapsing this, and I think it's going to be okay. I'll probably time-lapse a few trips back to the farm as well, similar to what I did in the Easter special. But yeah, see you in a second. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed that little time lapse there. Right, what we've got to do is make sure this clamp is actually being clamped. It's currently just being heaped up in a pile, which isn't really ideal. It needs to be compacted down, nice and level. And the best thing for this really is going to be the excavator, as far as I can see. The only issue is with the excavator, it's pretty slow. And if Farming Simulator is going to decide that it's going to have to be compacted for about 25 minutes, which it has taken me that amount of time before, then using the excavator could be very, very painful. But certainly as a preliminary vehicle it's going to be perfect because we can spread some out, which needs to be spread out. Like I say, it's all heaped up, so it doesn't really want to be in such a mound. But all we can do is give it a try and see how it actually goes. Now once it is leveled a bit, we may well transfer over to possibly the T7 or the JCB. Haven't really decided just yet, but yeah, there's bound to be something which is going to do it quickly. Yeah, just whatever that vehicle is, I have no idea. So this is load number 3 from this trailer. I don't know how much we have in there currently, but it is probably getting fairly close to 250,000 litres, I would have thought. Maybe even more. In fact, yes, I would say it is about 300. We have tipped quite a bit in there. Here's a strength test for it, reversing this lot uphill. Bit of manpower here, getting it reversed into the pit. Whoa, it's tipping over. That would be quite a crash if this thing actually did tip over. It's actually a little bit disappointing when you get back here. You know how much you've put into the pit, but it just is like a little mound at the back, even though we know there is a lot in there. Okay, that's done. How much do we have then? We have 393,714 litres. So 93,000 litres more than what I even thought. Fantastic. We're definitely going to have to do something about this though. We can't just keep continuing without sort of spreading it out or anything. Now Courseplay would be perfect for this job, but I've been told it's still in beta, so I don't know when it's going to be out. But once it comes out of beta mode and it's released and everything, then hopefully we'll be able to use it. Right, so this may well be the last time we use the VOLVO excavator on this map, but let's just hope we can give it a good use now. Come on, do a bit of good work. Yeah, that is the issue, you see. It doesn't allow you to drag. All it would do is scoop up and fill the bucket. You can't actually drag a pile. You can't do that with any machine in Farming Simulator. The only thing you can do is use a silage pit leveler, which is what we're probably going to have to use, because obviously a bucket doesn't have the capabilities for this. Having said that though, it doesn't mean we're not going to use this for levelling. It's very heavy, so it could be perfect. Let me just see what happens if I drive up here. Well, you can see it is compressing it. Whoa, that is not a safe way to put an excavator up a very sheer mound. That is not safe at all. Well, I think what we're going to have to do is put this onto the low loader once we finish this field, then go and sell it, and then in the next episode it will likely be we will go and buy at the same time a silage pit leveler, get it done that way. It's just going to be easier long term. Now we probably could do it. We probably could just keep driving backwards and forwards over it with this, and it would work in the end. It's just it's going to be painfully slow. And to be honest, when there is another way of doing it, it's definitely worth doing it the other way. So yeah, just park it here. Bit of a shame really, because I do love this VOLVO excavator. Not personally, but you know, I like it quite a bit. So if it had worked, if you could sort of drag instead of just scoop in Farming Simulator, that would have been perfect. Oh well, maybe in the next one you'll be able to do stuff like that. So we are getting close to the end of this field, which is quite nice really, because it has been dragged on for quite a bit. And to be honest, we do need to move on because we obviously need to get a bit of income. This silage is going to be our source of glory. We finally, I've said this before, but we are finally going to be a profitable farm, a very profitable farm. There is so much money in this, so it just has to ferment. And then of course we have to load it up again into lorries, probably with a conveyor belt. In fact, definitely with a conveyor belt at either end, and then we'll get it sold that way. So off screen I'm going to continue the field. Once this trailer is full again, I will reappear in the video and I'll show you it being tipped and all that, and then what we're going to do, like I say, is transfer this trailer. We're going to take it off, we're going to put the low loader on, we'll get the excavator loaded up, which can be a bit tricky because the load over is a little bit too narrow really. You can't widen it or anything. Then we'll take it down to the store, and at the very end of this video we'll get it sold and see how much money we can actually get for it. It hasn't really had much work done with the excavator, so really it shouldn't have lost too much of its value, but obviously the time seems to be the main factor, so all we can do is hope and see. This lorry is certainly going through the diesel. Having said that though, the chaff is quite airy, so there isn't a great deal of density to it, so you could definitely carry something much heavier. I think this is probably the lightest load you could take, except for some feathers. But I think it's highly likely that we're going to have at least 2 more loads. Certainly at least 1 more load. Maybe just another half after that, but let's just go and find out. So here we have another load, 70,000 litres to add to the massive pile. Yes, I'm kind of dreading the actual levelling of this because it does take a very long time. I did a pile in Wexcombe Manor Farm. I mean, I clamped a pile of silage in Wexcombe Manor Farm. That sounded a bit strange, and it was probably about half the size of this, maybe even less than half, maybe a third. And it honestly took 25 minutes to do, from beginning to end. So, is this really going to take an hour to do? Roughly, that would be bad if it does. Let's hope it doesn't, but we will see. This is going to be one very enjoyable gaming session if I have to sit here pressing forwards and then backwards for an hour. I may have to get someone to help. Maybe I could put it onto multiplayer just really quickly, just so everybody, 16 players, could just keep going backwards and forwards over it. We will have to see. Right, so back for the final load. Okay, so this is the final bit here. We are going to fit it all in, just about. 82% full so far. 85% is it going to be? Still 83%. Okay, so off we go. Let's go and tip this in the yard, and then we'll have to check and see how much we've got. I've just turned the worker off just to make sure it's not going to charge us again. It's running by engine hours, these leasing terms, so if the engine is left running it could be very costly. Plus the worker is costing money as well. There is actually another cut through to get to this place where we're going to, but I've just tried it and obviously, well, first impressions I was like, no, that is never going to get through there. Tried it and obviously yes, it got stuck. The track actually comes out there. Interesting. But in a tractor, that could be quite handy. Anyway, final load. Let's get it tipped. And it is actually looking much fuller now, which is expected. So before I forget, we need to make sure the excavator is sold. We need to get the low loader out. And of course we'll put this trailer away. We do actually own this trailer. It isn't lease. So how much do we have? 550,000 litres so far. 570. Wow, it's still going up. 591 we finish off with. Very impressive. That is, I would say a small fortune, but actually it's actually much more than that. It is a lot of money just sat there. But before it can do anything, it does need to be compacted and it needs to be covered over so it can ferment. Which I'm actually dreading. It is going to be a very big job. Right, so let's just put this over here. Get the low loader attached. This could be troublesome as well. So I may do this off screen. We'll just have to see. Okay, that'll do there. The length of the low loader is fine, it's just the width. It's not wide enough. It is possible to transport it on here, but it does take a few attempts. The way I'm going to do this is by reversing on. Okay. So if I rotate it here, what it tends to do as well is it tends to fall through the ramps, which is a bit annoying. But I've done it before, so I know it's possible. Doing it at some speed. Okay, so the tracks are now in position. It isn't perfect, but it's going to have to do. I'm just going to put the bucket here for the time being. What we have to do is put the ramps up first of all, so we know exactly where to put the bucket. It doesn't want to touch it, so I would say about there. Oh no, mess it up. I'll try and reposition. That is not how I wanted it, but it's going to have to do. It was supposed to be on the flat part, and the boom was supposed to be a bit higher up, but as long as we can get to the sell point, it'll be okay. We just get a 20% bonus if we do take it there. Got to be really steady, especially on here. There's no kind of locking script, it's not held on in any way at all. It can very easily tip over. So, as hilarious as it may be for you, it's taken me about, what's it taking, 10 minutes to do this? Not sure. Feels like it. Yeah, it's looking very rough. Okay, let's see what we can get for the excavator. It did actually manage to get here in one piece. There is a train. Yes, it didn't fall off, which is a miracle. I have no idea how it didn't fall off, but it's about to now. There it goes. predictable. It should be, I would have thought, about £60,000. That's what I'm hoping for. But it could be less. It has been used. And it's a bit old as well. 81,000. Well, we'll greatly take that. Very appreciated. Thank you very much. Yeah, that is actually the end of the episode. This has taken so long to record, and it's probably a very short video, that I have totally lost track of what we were doing. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.